Okay, welcome to this webinar. This is a preliminary matter. I was thinking about this particular webinar past few minutes or in the past half hours. And this honestly is one of the most important topics and learnings that you could ever watch in terms of what you do with your career. The reason is because I've been sitting here working in this job for over 25 years, and almost every attorney that I speak with some exceptions, is making the career mistakes that I'm going to talk about here today. And by watching this, I think it could completely change the direction of your life, change the direction of your career, really no matter where you are on the career spectrum in terms of your experience level. If you're a young attorney, it will help, but even if you're an older attorney, it will help. I'm going to talk today about what attorneys do that are very successful and earning millions of dollars a year and good jobs they like, or just doing what they want, whether it's in the government or anything else. And so learning this stuff is just, I want to commend you, because most people think they know everything, especially attorneys. Like, you can't tell them something about their career, and you can't tell people how to improve, and people are just stuck in their ways. But this is what I'm talking about today, is exactly what you need to understand to do well. And hopefully I can help you realize the importance of this and change the direction of your career. And this particular information, by the way, I've shared it with young attorneys that I've spoken to, and they've come back and not in the depth that I'm going today. And so this has just changed the entire course of my life. And so that's how important I believe this webinar is, and the stuff we're going to talk about today. Then, I brought it up earlier, but literally been sitting here talking to multiple attorneys and law firms each day, and for 25 years. And this is what what people are doing wrong and what people are doing right that have good careers. And almost everyone does it wrong. That's what we're going to learn about today. So this is a live webinar. This particular webinar, some of these webinars go on for the actual presentation for several hours. This is not a long webinar. It will end in a decent amount of time. And then at the end of the webinar, I will take questions about this or anything else. If you have questions about how to do a job search, you have questions about things you may have done wrong that you want to fix, or things that you're doing right but you don't understand, any questions you have, I'm happy to answer them. Most people, attorneys, for some reason, don't like to ask questions, but all of the questions you ask they're not going to show your name or anything. And so that will go, I will do that. And just as a kind of a little bit of advice, questions that you don't think you should ask are often the best questions. So we'll get started here with this webinar. It's called Two Things the Most Successful 5% of Attorneys Do That the Rest Do Not. And if you ignore this, you will have problems. This is pretty common. I could literally, but different attorneys approaching me every day, but they will approach me looking for jobs, and meaning they submit the resume in BCG. I always review every resume that comes in. If you apply to BCG or reviewed your resume, I would look at everybody's resume, and both were self-confident. They were men, and they had every reason to be successful, but they were not. They were having big problems in their careers. And typically people that think they're going to be very successful. These people went to great law schools. They studied, did well there. They got jobs in major law firms out of school, and they had recently lost their jobs. Very common, by the way. People that go to great law schools and who do well there will get jobs in major firms, and they lose their jobs. They lose them because, again, this is just me going off topic a little bit, but they lose them because if that's a career choice you make, you will have expected to do an extremely good job, be very highly motivated, and worth the billing rate that the firm's charging, and have a good attitude. If you don't, you just lose your jobs. Happens all the time. And I will look at several resumes a day where this happened to people. And one of these attorneys was fired and the other quit. And they both made this mistake that I'm going to talk about today. The one that approached their career in a tactical manner and not strategically, while the other attorney ended up approaching their career strategically, but not tactically. So I'm going to talk today about strategy and tactics, and that you need to be both strategic and tactical to be truly successful in your legal career. And I'm going to talk about what that means to be strategic and tactical. Let's talk about a tactical attorney and what that means. The attorney that was fired had worked in a very, very good law firm for exactly 1 year before being fired. When he was in law school, actually, he went to a top 5 law school, and he was in the top 10 of his graduate students in the top 5 law school. And what happened at the school is they basically only told you you're in the top 10 students. They didn't say if you're number 2 or 3, whatever. And so he'd done very well. He'd done very well academically. There were all sorts of things, resume, Eagle Scout, very promising future in the legal profession, but he didn't have a strategy. He started off doing really well. He worked hard on the matters he was given. So he knew that he had to work hard. He was smart, but he was so smart. And this is something that happens in every law firm with people that are hired each year, that he soon began questioning the necessity and aspects of the assignments. He would go to assigning partners and he would tell them that the work they had assigned was unnecessary because it wouldn't help the client. It was a waste of money for the client. And he believed that the work he was being asked to do were wasting clients' money. Now, I will tell you that that may be your opinion as an attorney, but sometimes the client wants it or will pay for it. And it's not really an associate's job to ask the partner, to tell the partner that. And it was just issues. So he believed the assignments and work he was being asked to do wasting the client's money. And then the people assigning him work, I did not like that. And the first performance review is totally should just leave the firm. And I want you to understand that the reason he was let go was because you just can't do that. If a partner is trying to give you work, it's their decision of whether or not it's necessary. You have absolutely nothing to do with that. And if you start telling them it's unnecessary and talking to your other attorneys and so forth, that's how the partner makes money. They waited years to bring in some business like this. You just can't do it. And so he was told he could spend the next few months looking for a position, and good luck. He now goes to work each day with very little to do, which is very common in large law firms and law firms in general. They will fire you and stop giving you work and allow you to come in for a while. And I recommended to him because he was losing his job very quickly. And sometimes a good strategy is to apply to a judicial clerkship, because then you don't have a break in your resume. Looks like you wanted to go clerk if you're a litigator. And I told him, if you do that, it'll just look like you worked for a year and then went to clerk, save your career, a couple months to do it. So you can apply to all sorts of state court judges and federal judges and magistrates. And I told him he could find a clerkship in a couple months, which, by the way, if you're a litigator, you do a national search for clerkships. It's not incredibly difficult, at least if you're trying to get state courts and other types of courts. And I told him that if he didn't find a job in the next few months, this will give him employment problems because it will look like you were fired. And I'm just telling you, my morning today started at 7 a.m. My first call was with someone that lost their job, but left voluntarily. My second call was with someone who was fired. My third call was with another person that left their job as well. And in this case, it was 3 partners, because I've been talking to a lot of partners. This happens and it's pretty bad. And then the partner was out of work. So people have a lot of problems when this happens. And then he came and said he wanted to stay in big law. And I told him some of the things he'd done wrong. I told him he should have just done what he was asked. He was a soldier, not a general. And what that means is if you're, this actually goes for most people, unless you're the person who has the client or your partner who has the client, you're a soldier, not a general. Your job is to follow orders. I'm sorry, but that's how it works. It works that way everywhere. You can certainly come up with all sorts of arguments and stuff about cases and matters. What he didn't understand, and which is very important, is if you're working in law firm, partners that are assigning you work are paid based on how much work they assign associates to, then how much they produce. Both partners like it when they bill hours, and they want to make money. So if you're doing a lot of work for a partner that brings in more revenue or makes from a client, it makes the partner look better. And you're not supposed to question the ideas of someone that has the work, and preventing partners in the firm from making money is a complete no. That's not what you do. You do not stand in the way of people that are trying to make money for their firm that pays your salary. That's insane. So that's just like the last thing in the world you want to do. And I want to be very clear about this because people do not understand this. But law firms keep people around that make the money. It's an economic machine. So if a law firm is bringing in business and giving it to associates, they want someone who's going to make the money, right? So if you stand in the way of making the money, they don't like it. If you don't bill a lot of hours, they don't like it. That's your job. The job of an attorney, by the way, and I hate to say this to everyone, but it's a pretty normal fact of practicing law. Your job at a law firm and the job of partners is to create work, find things to do. You find extra work to do for the client. You just keep finding work to be done. That's your job. That's how attorneys make money. Now, I'm not saying that you're doing the wrong thing doing that. I mean, you may do a transaction for a company and say, oh, you should restructure your company this way and make more money, and they can make more money to do that. Or we recommend that you do this securities offering because the interest rates are low. You find reasons to create work, and associates can do that as well. If you're creating work, that's money. So you have to create work. So I want you to understand like this whole idea of creating work and why it's so essential to being a good partner and a good associate. What that means is you go out and you find stuff to be done. That's how people make money. If you are dropped in the middle of say you're in a big city and you're dropped in the middle of a small town and you don't know what to do, you're going to have to create work. You're going to have to interview places. Maybe you start a business. Maybe you do this. Businesses create work. That's how people become rich. They create things to be done and they make money. That's it. So as an attorney, you have to create work, not stand in the way of work. The more work you create, the better you'll be compensated. If you create work for clients and things to be done, that's what they need. And if you're not doing the work that a law firm's assigning you, if you're questioning it, you're not honoring the fact that the partner is trying to create work and you're standing in the way. How would you feel if you were say you were working for and just giving you an example, say you were working for, I don't know, you're at a hospital or you're working for a doctor, a private doctor, and that doctor is going to do some procedure on someone, and he comes in and he comes up with some additional ideas and things that he can do work because he's going to get paid. And then you go working for him and you come and say, no, that's not necessary. You shouldn't do that. It's just, if people don't like that, they don't like, I'm not saying you're harming the patient, but maybe, I don't know, maybe the person wants to get a bad knee fix or something. You say that's not necessary. You can spend 2 years with a knee brace. People that stand in the way of getting work always get burned. I really want to make this point because if you do this with your firm, you'll be in trouble. If you just blindly do the minimum for your clients, you don't make money. It's important to create work. And I'm not saying to do it in an ethical way, but I'm saying you do it because because that's the job of an attorney. That's the job of every service provider. And so this firm did not want to advance this associate. They knew that he was standing in their way. And after I told him why what he did was wrong, I sent him a lot of firms all over the country because he had a difficult time. He was going to have a difficult time getting a position. I sent him firms all over in different geographic areas. I also recommended that he look at smaller firms instead of big firms. I recommend him look in the city he was on. I recommend look at smaller firms. I recommend that he had to apply to firms immediately because he had a limited amount of time when he was going to be unemployed. And after sending him the names of several law firms, large law firms, small law firms, he wanted to discuss each firm and why it was or was not suitable for someone like him culturally and in other ways. The problem with this is this attorney completely lacked a strategy. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. But I want to talk about something that's actually very important. And this is one of the biggest mistakes that people make in their job search. Very important. So if you are in a major city like New York and a law firm comes out and it says, we want a third-year associate that does this type of corporate work, they're going to get hundreds of third-year associates to do that type of corporate work in New York. And so they're going to get it. And because there's so many people competing, if you're not employed, they have enough people, they're going to hire someone that's employed over you. If you come in and you have an attitude or something seems off, they're going to hire someone that doesn't have an attitude and things don't seem off. Employers have choices. Like, people don't understand this. If you lose your job in like Los Angeles or New York or Chicago or Houston or Dallas or Miami, like, law firms are going to have a lot of choices. They don't care that you went to a good law school or got good grades. All they care about is if you're someone that can be managed, that will do the work assigned, that is in control of their career and all those things. So you cannot, I just want to be very clear, every single job that you apply to, unless it's in a very small market, is going to get multiple applications. I can tell you that. That's how it works. I talk to law firms every day. They'll have piles of resumes that they might have printed up. And it's just people, it's not easy. And so this particular attorney was tactical. So he went to a great school, very smart, but he did not have a strategy. And that's what caused him to have issues with his career. And your entire legal career is really about having strategy and tactics. And this is what I'm going to talk about, is what separates ordinary attorneys from ones that become incredibly successful. If you have loose tactics, meaning these tactics are really employed, then you're going to have a very rocky and also dangerous career, and you're going to fail or never reach your full potential, no matter how smart you are. I see this every day as well, every day. So I talk to attorneys and law firms all day, every day. And I can tell you that almost all attorneys are making this mistake. Now let's talk about a strategic attorney. This is another one who lost their job. He knew that he wanted to be in a law firm that would rapidly advance him to being a partner, and he wanted to make a lot of money. And this is all he wanted. That's strategy. If you say loosely, I might want to be a partner in a law firm, that's not going to get you anywhere. What the hell is that? Whatever you say, you can't have any weak goals, which again, this is something a lot of attorneys have. I think it's insane. Like, how could you possibly achieve anything if you have a weak goal? Your goals need to be a must. If they need to be like firm, like I want to do this, because if that's what you want to do, that your reticular active system, how you approach the world, you will see opportunities that other people don't. So strategy is very important. This particular attorney got into top law school. He'd done really well there, and he believed that because of these academics, that he was entitled to a good job. I can't tell you how many attorneys I see that went to great law schools and they think that's all they offer the firm. That's absolutely the opposite of what you need. Sure, a good law school can get you into a good firm, but that looks good to their clients. But if you don't play the game, they can always find a way to do it. You are nothing special because you went to a certain law school. There are other people out there that do it. They need people that can do the work, that play the game, that know how things are done, and get the work done. And if you're not that person, then they don't care. Would you? So this particular person joined a top law firm out of law school, and he quickly realized that the firm he joined offered very little advancement opportunity. Like, he saw that senior attorneys weren't going anywhere. And when he realized it was going to be so difficult, he quit his job and expected me to find a position in a law firm that would be very quickly advance him without having to do anything, learn or commit or even do much work whatsoever. He just felt he was entitled to it. And meaning, I want this, I'm going to get it. And strategy is not good in the absence of tactics. You can have strategy like that. You can say, I want to do this, but without employing tactics to get where you want, nothing much ever happens. And so the tactical realities involved in all this, there's a lot of tactics. If you want to be a partner in a law firm, not only need strategy, but if you really want to do it, I mean, one of the things that might help you, it's not necessary, by the way, but you need to get into a good law school and you need to do well. You need to commit to a practice area. This is another insane thing people do. They never commit to a practice area. They say, oh, I'm like, oh, it'll do litigation. You know what? I'm interested in labor and employment now. Hey, I want to go back and do securities. If you do that, and people do this, you will lose. You will never become the person that you could be if you committed to a practice area. Law firms, just like clients, specialists do better. So what does that mean? If you do 5 different things, you're never going to be an expert. You're going to just flow around to different things that have different rules, and your learning is going to be very restricted. You can be a generalist in a small town and do personal injury and help people with wills and stuff. But if you want to do well in a mid-sized to large firm, you need to specialize in something. You need to commit. You need to do it early in your career. You cannot. I have people all the time, they can switch practice areas. They've been practicing for 5 years. I had a real estate attorney I was dealing with the other day, and wow, he went to a top 7 law school or 10, I don't know what it is, but did very well there. Was summa cum laude in good college. Then started at one law firm, was there a year, get to another one a year, and then went to his third one. and was fired. And so I think he was fired from 3 law firms. Good looking kid, married. And anyway, so he was unemployed, and very difficult. And I got him a position in a smaller market, meaning he was in a good sized market. And I got him not a huge market, but a couple million people. And I got him one in a market that was maybe 80,000. Then he got this offer and he had to think about it. Oh, I don't know. Let me think about it. He went and got the job. The firm liked him, but he's, I got to think about it. Then he's, a friend of mine offered me a job working for his litigation firm. And he's starting this new firm and maybe I'll do that. I was like, are you insane? Like you've been a transactional lawyer. Just pretend like he's corporate finance for the past 3 or 4, actually he'd been practicing for 5 years. So I don't know, for the past 5 years, and you're going to go do something else completely that you don't know the rules to. And you put all this time, 5 years to mean something. And he's, yeah, I also don't want to move. And I'm also thinking maybe I should go into politics. And this is what takes people out. So he ended up turning down or doing exactly what he wanted, this corporate finance type stuff with a firm where he could have made partner and there's all this stuff. And pretty much threw his career away. Wow. Just not having strategy, not having tactics. And when he was at his last firm, they came to him and said, your heart's not really in this. You're not, if you want to do something, your heart needs to be in it. You need to focus. That's just how it is. And so the strategic attorney thought his law school grades were enough. He didn't really think that he needed to continue with these tactics at a law firm for a decade or more, which you have to work hard. You have to show commitment. And when he didn't have a strategic goal of advancing like he needed to. Let me tell you a little bit about how strategy and tactic works. And this is this particular portion of this webinar is probably the most important. That if you learn this, you're going to be in very good shape. So I hope you listen carefully because it's a very important thing you can learn. If you learn this, by the way, your whole life and career can change. I'm 100% confident because the successful attorneys I see that do this, they're successful because they do this. So what strategy is the process of figuring out where you want to ultimately get in your career, to be a partner in a major law firm, to be an important politician, to go in the United States Attorney's Office, to start your own law firm one day. These are goals that people have. They are important goals. And this is how it actually works. If you're able to have a strategy of what you want to do, you're going to do very well. I'm going to grab something to show you guys, girls, real quickly, because I want you to understand. So when I talk about strategy and what is that? We're talking about strategy. So if you have a goal to do something, then you have to basically focus on it. And so you have to figure out where you ultimately want to go. So if what you want is to be part of a law firm, then you have to have that. If what you want is to go into the U.S. Attorney's Office, whatever, to start your own law firm, you need to do that. And tactics, the means by which you achieve these goals, working hard, taking positions along the way that bring you closer to your goal, doing clerkships, becoming a law professor, and so forth. And honestly, you need to make the best strategic decisions you can before you make tactical decisions. So what I wanted to show you was just how I operate. And I'm not I love what I do, but there's certainly, and I'm focused on what I do. But each week I have, and I'm just going to show you on my stage, but I spend quite a bit of time writing down my plans for the week. I have strategies for my strategic goals, which are basically to help as many people as possible in this business, which I think I can do better at. That's what I do. So you have to have strategies for what you want to do. Each week I review my strategy, and this doesn't mean anything, but I have goals that I set each month. Then I set goals each quarter, and then I set goals each year. And everything I do, I keep looking at them, and then I have a strategy. And strategy, I know exactly what I want, then where I want to go, and all my decisions are based on that. So, and the idea would be my strategies to help as many people in their legal careers as possible. So I do webinars like this. I write. I work on helping candidates all the time. That's my strategy. I know what I want. I even take each day I take a limit, I write down what I want to do, and then I write down what are called affirmations each morning, afternoon, night. You have to have a strategy. You can't, if you don't have a strategy and you don't know what you want, and people are going to just blow by you. And I could show you a bunch of different books. I didn't have them all in my office today in our house, but I do this every single day, every single month, every single week, focus on that. And I'm just telling you, I really want to emphasize this, that if you don't do that, if you don't, and I'll show you at the end of this webinar some ways of doing it, like we start taking questions, but if you don't have a strategy, like you don't know where you want to go, then you're pretty much toast. You just can't do that. You have to know where you want to go. And too many people, meaning almost every attorney, it often doesn't know exactly what they want. And if they do, they're rare and they do extremely well. And if you're tactical, then after you take a strategy, if you know a strategy, like I want to be the most important M&A attorney in the world, or I want to be this, then if you have that strategy, it's going to inform every single decision that you make. And you're going to make sure that you make decisions that are going to help you. So I asked this particular attorney strategy, what do you want her to do? And then he said, this is one that had a strategy. He said, I don't know. And without any over strategic goal, he doesn't make good tactical decisions. So what does that mean? So if you say, here's an example. When a plane takes off, I'm sure you've heard this example before, but I'm going to give it out. It just takes off. And in order for a plane to get to its destination, the pilot has to make, if they didn't have an automated pilot flight, pilot has to make hundreds of decisions or thousands to get the plane to where they go. They'll have to do navigation, they'll steer, they'll put the plane to higher and lower altitudes. I mean, that's the only way you get somewhere if you're flying a plane, is to have a strategy, meaning I know where I want to go, and then tactics to get you there. And this is what you need in your career. So this attorney I'm talking about, if he knew that he wanted to be a partner at the firm he was at, he would have conducted himself differently, made better decisions. He wouldn't, and I'm talking about the first attorney that lost their job because they were questioning their assignments. And this particular attorney would not have questioned assignments. He would have instead simply done whatever was asked of him. He would have learned everything he could and respected the partners instead of questioning them. And even after he went off track, he would have tried to salvage his goal by following my advice and applying to firms all over that might have had openings for him. That would have been a strategy. He would have made sure that he kept his career going. But he wasn't strategic. He didn't have an overall goal of what he wanted to do. And statisticians believe that because they're smart and so forth, that they can do the work and good things will happen to them. And they think everything is about tactics, meaning go to good school, do this work. And they fail to understand the need for an overall strategy. And it can work sometimes, but it usually doesn't. And in order to achieve something, you honestly, and this is what is so important, and so few attorneys do, you need strategy along with tactics. And so here's attorneys, I want to give you an example of two different attorneys. They want to be partners in law firms. So here's what happens. One just uses, and the first just uses tactics, and then another uses tactics along with strategy. It's very interesting what you're going to see. So here's what happens when the first attorney employs tactics. They show up for work, they do the job, they try to get the best job they can out of law school, they complete their assignments as well as possible, making sure that they follow the rules and work lots of hours. By the way, it's tactics. And they hope that after 8 to 10 years, they'll be a partner, but does not really care more one way or another. And they think that they might go in-house. So this is what most people do. They work in a law firm and they say, hey, I might go in-house after a few years, or maybe I'll, do this. Who knows? Start my own firm. I'd really like to do something else or whatever. This is how a lot of people think. And they don't care. They're not focused. They're just doing their work, getting a paycheck, right? And that's what a lot of people do. That's what the mailman does. I mean, if you want to do that and be like the mailman, that's up to you. I'm not saying the mailman's a bad person, but that's what they do. There's no strategy for their life or anything. They're just delivering the mail. And this is what a lot of attorneys do. They're just, delivering the mail. They're just going in and doing their work, and they're why they're doing it or where it's going to lead to, but they're doing their work. And these attorneys, by the way, get eaten alive. So what happens, first firm I worked in, by the way, was this, right there, 2 doors down, there was this woman, had the same size office as me, was probably a juror. late 40s, 50s, contract attorney. She's sitting there and just getting paid by the hour and had no goals or anything, just being a contract attorney. This is what happens to a lot of people. And I was amazed because she'd gone to, I don't know, Stanford or something pretty awesome. No goals, just didn't care. And then I remember not too long ago, I had lunch with this guy that was a counsel at a really good firm. And he's someone I knew. And he was like, yeah, they said if I build some more hours, I might be partner. I don't really know what I want. So if you don't have a strategy, and you're just doing things tactically, the world and you're just going to eat you alive. You'll just take what people give you. So here's someone that applies tactic and strategy. And this is what you need to do. And then once we get through this, take a quick break and then come back and do some questions. But this is attorney that applies tactics and strategy is the smartest thing you can do. This attorney, the second attorney, knows that they want to be a partner in a law firm and they have a tactics for doing that. Instead of just going to work at a random law firm, they figure out by studying it, by talking to people and making decisions. They select for their law firm that they're going to go work for, one where they believe their goal is to be a partner in a big law firm, right? So they find a law firm where that's more likely to happen than another. And by the way, you make decisions about places you go to based on what you think your future is going to be. If you go to a huge firm and they tell you, oh, everybody's considered for partner, and then you see that no one is made partner there in a decade, I think that it's probably not going to happen. If you go to another firm, they say they have all this work and you'll be able to, people make work. We have giant clients and we always make partner because there's just ways to think about this. You go to a firm and you choose something where if your goal is to be a partner in a large law firm, you choose the firm where you're most likely to be able to make a partner. You try to find a place that's growing and that has a reputation for making the most partners each year. So were you to think about this, I'm just telling you how this works. If you were to think about, you want to be a partner in a large law firm. So just going to some regular big firm where that might not be a possibility, you could look for firms that are experiencing rapid growth. Something's going on. They're attached, they're getting all these clients, and they're growing, and they're making all these partners because things are going so well. And you can find firms like that. You can. And you can talk to a lot of firms and you can go out and interview. Your strategy is to do this. And so this attorney is going to network with partners who has the most power at the firm and who will give this attorney the most work. So what does that mean? So if I want to be a partner, I see the stupidest things happen all the time. If you want to be a partner at a major law firm, whether you're currently a partner, the worst thing you can do, and I want everyone to understand this, most people that make partner, they make partner in large law firms for one of essentially three reasons. One is that somehow, and they can do it, they go out and develop a huge book of business because they really want to be a partner. How do they do that? They call companies, they cold call them, they send emails, they connect with people on social media that they believe will have work. They do all these things, they put time into it. They say, can I drive out of me? They take all their time and focus on making sure that they're doing what they need to develop business. And because that's their goal, they know what they want. They're not screwing around. They're not just going to work and then going home and, watching TV or playing around with Twitter or something. They're actually focused on it and they know what they want. That's one way you can do it. Another way that you can do it is you do work for people that have a lot of influence. So a partner with a huge book of business that can afford to make partners because they want them to be, and the firm's going to respect them. What does that mean? So that means you can dedicate, basically be a servant for someone that has a huge book of business, do everything they ask you, anticipate their needs, do more than is required of you, and do that for someone that has a lot of power in the firm. In every law firm, there are people that have lots of business and influence, and these people can say, I want to make this person partner. And if they do that, then you're more than likely to make partner. And the partners you decide to dedicate your career to doesn't have a lot of business, doesn't have a lot of influence, may have come from another firm before that, then you're wasting your time. That person is probably not going to have the ability to advance your career. And if that's how you're going to do it, meaning you're going to take your career and work for people that don't have that sort of influence, then you're toast. So you should go and try to work gradually or work your way to working with the people that are most powerful, because they can turn your career in a second. You find someone older that does that's going to retire in 5 years. They'll probably give you another book. You have to make decisions that are strategic about where you're going to go and what you're going to do and you're going to work for if you want to do something. Just think about this. I had this bizarre experience where I was talking to this guy, and he left a major law firm and started his own practice. And he was like, yeah, I made the mistake of, I thought I was going to have a sponsor, someone to sponsor me, but when it came time for me to partner, I didn't really have it. So that means someone worked in a law firm for 10 years, didn't get anybody that stood up and said, we want this person to be a partner, and another person did, because they were just working there blindly without a great strategy. I mean, they didn't say, whatever, I really want to do this. I know I got to get a sponsor. I know I got to work lots of hours. I know you need to do this. And you can make partner that way. Partners are also made sometimes if you work an incredible number of hours, like you work 2,800 hours, 25, 27, 3,000, then they will make you partner often, but there'll be income partnering. You have to develop business. And then when that happens, this is another thing. And this happens all the time with regularity. I see it several times a week. People make income partner, and they're like, I'm a partner. And what do? They decide to just not get work. They don't have a strategy for that, because there's a next level to that. So the second attorney gets employed strategy and tactics. So the first thing they've done is they've tried to join a firm where they believe that they can make partner. They've done that. And then they also are able to select a practice area that has a lot of opportunity, and they make time to network outside of work to meet potential clients. Very, very, you select a practice area where you're not going to be able to get business, or where there's not a lot of opportunity, then that's a problem. So what does that mean? You decide when you're a young attorney that you want to do securities law and work at IPOs, and then the economy tanks, you'll probably get laid off. So happens all the time. I see corporate attorneys often go to the very largest firms. Most New York firms are pretty good about it, but firms, Silicon Valley, will often just let people go, or things slow down. And then when they speed up, they'll get crazy. So you have to select a practice area that you understand that there's opportunity. You should be reading about it. You should be studying it when you're in law school. You should be thinking about the practice area that you want to do when you're inside of a law firm. What subspecialties can you do it to make you unique? You want to find opportunities in a practice area that works. This is what you should do at the outset. Now you can change practice areas if you really see something, but once you select a practice area, that's not enough. It's not enough to say, oh, I'm an ERISA litigator. If you want to be like a partner, it's not enough to say, oh, I'm a commercial litigator who defends, self-storage companies from tort. You could get something that's very defined. And then when you do that, you look for clients, you write articles, you give presentations, you become a subject matter expert. You don't just sit there and do what's asked of you. You become like someone that's known and that has a brand for that. And this is what people don't do. If you want to be like a successful attorney, like it's not enough to just say, oh, I want to be successful and I want to do this, and then just do the work. You got to say, I'm going to be the freaking best in the world at this. I'm going to go all out. I'm going to be whatever it takes. I'm going to write presentations. I'm going to find clients. I'm going to send my presentations to people. I'm going to potential clients, grab on LinkedIn. I'm going to all this stuff. And don't question your assignments. Where you want to be, you're not going to make any issues. You're just doing what is asked of you, and you do the very best job you can. You stay away from office gossip, and people that have negative things going on. You avoid being associated with it. Another crazy thing that people do. So I talked to someone this morning, this woman that was very angry and said this, she looked firm, she quit, and other people laughed, and she's going to sue them. And okay, but if you really want something and you really want to be there, then you really want to advance, you certainly don't want to associate with people that are negative, or people that have negative, opinions about things. You just can't do it. It's not something that you should be doing, because if you do that, people are just going to think you're someone that's got a bad attitude, and they're not going to want to keep you around. you need to, again, this is something a lot of attorneys do. I talk to attorneys every day, and they just have all these negative things. You're saying how this was the other firm's fault, and that's been looking for a job, and they're very negative. And when someone like that, why they were fired or lost their job, because who wants to keep someone around that is gossiping all the time, looks negative, and they know who you are. If you have that kind of attitude, they can pick it up, and then they don't like you. And you just have to be on the side of good and be excited and not associated with that. That's what you do if you have a strategy. If a strategy, your tactics are to do the assignments, to avoid negativity, to do all sorts of things. And so these are the people that get ahead. They're just completely different. One person has a strategy and they're captaining a ship, they're in control, and then they keep making the decisions to get there. And if you don't do this, I'm just explaining this to you, and I keep it in my head of my eyes, because it's just so ridiculous that almost all attorneys, a lot of them, a good proportion of them, are simply just on a ship with no concern about where it's going. They're just working on the ship while other people steer the captain, and they're helping with, maybe they're working in the kitchen, who knows, but they're just doing whatever's asked of them, and no goals. They get paid. And so the majority of attorneys I talk to, and again, I've been doing this for 25 years. I am told that, and fortunately, this is just what happens. Now, there's very good attorneys, by the way. It doesn't happen to. And everyone knows who these attorneys are because they have great careers and they're on top of everything. But the majority of attorneys who are approaching me looking for positions in major law firms, honestly, do not have the correct combination of strategy and tactics. They just don't. They mess this up. And it was bad. There could be, I talk to them, and they're at a small law firm, not doing the sort of work that major law firms do. If you don't have a strategy, people pick it up and you just become pushed around and whatever. And without a strategy, you might decide at a law firm, you might not know that you're just going to figure it out. So you don't know that you want to be a partner. You don't know whether to be successful in a certain practice area. You don't even know what, you just don't care. You're just doing the work. And then you're doing the minimum or maybe doing more, and you're gossiping, and you don't know where you want to go. You're looking at in-house jobs while you're working, job sites, you're applying different places. You're thinking about maybe you can work remotely, and then they just you don't make good choices. You don't have the stability necessary to be an attorney in a major law firm with the drive charged with servicing large clients. I'll tell you another thing that this may upset people, men, but I see men, I talk to them at least once a month, and they're looking for a job. They were at a big firm, and they're deciding to take paternity leave. Now, a law firm doesn't care if you take paternity leave for little days. It doesn't go over well, because it's just a lot of these firms are just kind of macho image, or that everything is servicing your clients and working hard and getting ahead. They don't care what women do. That, by the way, they're very respectful. It's always been that way for things maternity. But a lot of times it's meant to paternity leave, and it's just when they come back, they won't even work. And that's just the reason that firms don't like them is they just don't think that shows commitment. I'm sorry, I don't want to offend anyone or any law firms. I know there's always a lot of law firms on this, but that's just how it works. If you're not committed to practicing law in a large law firm and to doing what you need, you'll be a partner, senior associate, you won't have any business. And most attorneys, by the way, 75% of them are just tacticians and never reach their full potential. It's very sad. It's very sad because they just start in a firm, and then they never think that they need to go out of their way to find work or to impress the right people or to get on the side of the most important people. They're just showing up, doing the work. Think how insane that is. You go to you go to law school, wherever you go, and you get all this education and you study for the bar and you go to a law firm and you work really hard, but you don't have any strategy. You just work hard and think good things are going to happen. Not true, because if someone has a strategy, in addition to doing all this work, you're going to do well. You have to have a strategy. You have to stick to it. And when I say strategy, you have to know what you're doing. You have to write down what you want to do, and you have to know exactly what you want to do, and you have to go back to it again and check it every week, look at it every day, and have some goal, because if you do, that's what's going to happen. You're going to go to that place. It's always going to happen. And if you don't have a strategy, here's what happens. And doesn't just happen occasionally. It happens almost all the time. This is what, and again, I'm trying to help you right now. I'm really trying to help you. And I want you to understand that if you don't have a strategy, you can get a strategy when you're 50 or 60 years old as an attorney. People practice forever. But if you don't have a strategy, you're just basically at the mercy of people that do have a strategy. So people that are running law firms or the CEO of a corporation or a general counsel, if you don't have a strategy with tactics, you're going to basically fail and end up happy. You're going to be in jobs that are beneath your potential. You're going to wonder why you didn't achieve more in your career, and you're going to be upset. Like you get to this indirect common, and I hate to say this, and I don't want to upset anybody, but over and over again, what happens now, I'm talking about male attorneys, okay? But what happens a lot of times is they get to this, when they get to this 7, 10, 12 years of experience, they've been making all this income. Their spouses are impressed with them. They have kids. They're in a nice neighborhood. But then it all comes crashing down because they don't have a strategy. They're just doing the work. And they're getting paid very well doing the work. But at some point, these law firms are like, hey, we don't need you. And then they start trying to apply to other places. And those other law firms are like, hey, we don't have the work for people at your level, and it becomes very difficult for them to find jobs. And then what happens is they might get a job, but it's not going to be the kind of job they want. And because they haven't had a clear strategy throughout their entire career, they end up very upset. They may drink. They I don't know, but a lot of times, very often, men get divorced. They have problems. They don't know what's happening. Sometimes they try to go to firms, pretend like they have business and bounce around. And again, if you don't have a strategy, you're just going to be at the mercy of other people and unfortunately working well below your potential. Because if someone's really smart or really motivated to go to law school, if they have strategy, they can do anything. And it's very interesting too. I remember I used to be, and before, till actually all through law school, because I'm paid very well, but I used to have a asphalt company, and the work I did was primarily residential, but I did it it was expensive. So I did it in very nice neighborhoods, and I would meet attorneys and they would have their own firms or be partners in big firms because they were living in very expensive houses and could afford to do all this asphalt work. And they always had straight, I went to law school, and do this, they're going to start this and done this. And they'd be excited, they'd be happy, they'd be driving nice cars and beautiful houses. And a lot of them were sole practitioners that started these different types of firms, or they were working at big firms, but they knew exactly what they wanted to do when they had business because what kind of neighborhoods they operated in. And that's just what I saw. And then sometimes I'm working see attorneys in other neighborhoods, and they would say, I work in the corporate department at this firm. And they were it just gave me this lesson very early on that the happiest and the most successful attorneys were people that had all these strategies, because you have a strategy, you have tactics, and all of a sudden, all these people are working for you. You're considered like an expert in the market, and people are calling you for advice. You're going out with clients, and your people like you, your spouses are impressed with you, your kids are impressed with you, maybe not impressed with you, but you're just doing well. You can afford to take your family on vacation. You can afford to save money, maybe retire early. Sometimes just tiring of 40s. It's just different. It's different. And all it takes, I'm sorry to just hit this over again, but all it takes to have that kind of life as an attorney is to have a strategy, and you can figure it out. Sit down and write. What do you want? And just write for 2 hours and figure out what you want to do maybe, and then look for me. But if you have this, your whole life is different. Some people's strategy is, I remember one girl, I was in college with her, and this woman she was a tennis player, tennis team, but she really wanted to be a federal judge. So she was working all the time. Like, she worked to get the very best grade. She was working all the time, but she knew from the time she was, I guess, 19 or 18, that she wanted to be a federal judge. That was her goal. And so she did everything she possibly could, working hard, going to a good law school, networking, whatever. But she knew with 100% certainty that she wanted to be a federal judge. When I was in college, I knew with 100% certainty that I wanted to go to law school. And not only that, where I wanted to go to law school. So think about that. So my goal was to go to University of Virginia Law School for a bunch of reasons. There's so many reasons. My girlfriend, her ex was there, and there was someone I grew up with, very competitive with, wanted to go there. Anyway, so that was my goal. So what did I do? I made sure I got good grades. People in the admissions office, if you could imagine, when I was a sophomore, then I would call this person and ask them if it was okay if I take a economics class, pass, fail. They knew who I was. I mean, this is crazy. Who does that? But if where you want to go or what you want to do, and you have a goal, then you're going to apply all these tactics like I did. And I applied all these tactics. It's crazy how many tactics I applied. And that's what you need to do. If you want to do anything, and I'm not saying that you need to do that with everything, but you have to have a strategy for what you want to do. And that's what happens. And all these people graduate from college, they don't know what they want. They're like, oh, maybe I'll take this job, maybe I'll do that. And it's crazy. Like, you have to have a strategy. I remember there's a guy that I knew that wanted to work at Goldman Sachs when he was a freshman, and he ended up working there. And not only that, but he became like this huge partner. And he's got like this Wikipedia page that's like this big, talking about all his incredible accomplishments. And wow, Goldman Sachs, if you know what you want, you're going to get it. I mean, you're going to think about what actions do I need to take? How does it work? Like, everything about it. And what's so incredible about this guy too, is then he wanted to work there so much, and he got some sort of summer job or something. And then by the time he was a senior college, we still had to interview there for a job. Even the guy looked like he worked at Goldman Sachs. He just wearing Gucci loafers and well-tailored suit because he wanted it. And this is what people do. They even take on the mannerisms and ways of acting and stuff with the people they want to work for. And people work in obscurity in various practice settings. They have no goals. They're just doing. I remember I was talking to went to University of Chicago Law School. It did very well. And then he joined this law firm it's crazy. I'm just telling you this happens here at Black Strategy. He joined this law firm in Washington, D.C., doing international arbitration. And this has been so long ago, I don't think I'm giving away his identity, but I wanted to be a little bit vague. But anyway, so he joined this law firm. And then when he was like 8 or 10 years out, they were like, hey, you don't have any work anymore, so see you later. Meanwhile, he should have been building a brand for himself with international arbitration. He'd been thinking about how to get business. He should have been networking with his partners. He should have asked people what he should do. But instead, he just lost his job. Then for 3 years, he was a bartender in a restaurant in Washington, D.C., because no one would hire him. He was in this obscure practice area. He didn't want to move. And then he decided he might want to go to medical schools. Kept the MCAT, very, very smart guy, did extremely well. Spent a year taking science classes so he could take the MCATs. I guess he had to do that and have certain requirements he didn't have as an undergrad, and then did very well. Applied to all these law schools, and they were like, I'm not law school, medical schools, was rejected by all of them because he just didn't seem, I don't know why they rejected him, but I'm sure because why would somebody become an attorney for 10 years and then all of a sudden want to go to medical school? It's not, they don't seem bold or it just seems like maybe they'll stop doing this. Who knows? Then eventually got a job in doing international arbitration in this very kind of not obscure, but Middle Eastern firm, and doing international arbitration that gave him like a 1 or 2 year contract, and he came back without doing anything. This is what happened when you don't have, so he did get a job eventually, but it wasn't, there was just someone kind of pushed papers around for a few years. And this is what happens to a lot of people. They just work in obscurity. Sometimes they do get jobs because of their skills and a good law firm, but not much happens to them. A lot of people are just pure strategists. That's the 15 to 20. Some strategists survive, but not. They're just bouncing around doing work for other people, and they become very good at their work, but that doesn't really matter. You can be the best at anything, but if you don't have a strategy to do it, that's it. And you can have a strategy, like a lot of people are probably very arrogant. They think they can do anything. And strategists typically don't make very good lawyers either, because they don't have the tactics. They say, I want this, but they don't do what they need. And then the world eats them up. And, you can want to be anything in the world you want to be, but unless you're using well-defined tactics to get where you are, you're going to be in trouble. So one thing that's interesting too, is a lot of people are like, oh, I want to go in house. And so they work in a big law firm, and then they maybe jump out and go in house right away. Actually, if you really want to, and maybe their goal, maybe they say I want to go in house, but if your goal, for example, is to be the general counsel of a giant corporation, you probably are going to need to be a partner first in a big firm, because that's who becomes general counsel, not people that decide they want to walk away from the practice of law after 2 years. If you're a big company and you wanted to hire a general counsel that's going to potentially make, tens of millions of dollars a year, would you hire someone that was a second year associate or had never learned beyond that? Or would you hire someone that had some clout, that was a partner from a major law firm for that and could talk to the board and would be a good face for the company publicly and look good to investors? That's what people do if they have a real strategy. Like they apply the right tactics. They know what they're doing. It's not a good tactic if you want to be general counsel of a major corporation to leave your in-house job after a couple of years. So I'm hoping we're giving everyone an idea of the importance of the strategy and tactics, because almost everybody watching this, if you're not doing this, you can change now. You're very smart for watching this because most people don't understand this sort of stuff. But if you apply strategies, you know where you want to go, you're sure about it, and that you decide on what you want. And I'm not saying you need to do it immediately. You need to do it because every day, every month, or every week, you don't have a strategy, know where you want to go. You're just basically paddling water. You could be just driving around the middle of the ocean, having no idea of where you want to go. And you'll be just tossed around by the waves, and maybe you'll reach some place you want to go, maybe not. But the smartest people have strategies. Nothing happens without a strategy. No one that makes a decision to do something and succeeds without a strategy. If you have a strategy, then that's very important. Then you will make the right decisions to get where you're going. You will think about what that is. What do you want? And then you will make the decisions to get where you want to go. I gave you several examples. Someone that wants to be a partner in a law firm, in a big law firm, either need to get business, or they need to network with the right people, or they need to make decisions about where they're going to work, places that are growing, whether than shrinking. All these things are tactical decisions based on your strategy. If you don't do this, you're toast. I just want to be very clear. If you don't know where you want to go, then you're going to fail. No matter how good your tactical work is, you're never going to reach your full potential. Very important. And I hate this to say it because so many people do this. They just don't know where they want to go. And then I talk to partners that have both of this. They're so confident. They know what they want. They're not going to waste time. They're on top of it. They had a strategy from the beginning and they're applying tactics, and you need it. You need to know exactly what you need to write it down. And then you need to go back and you look at it over and over again and review what kind of decisions have you made with those strategies. Everybody that's successful does this. I couldn't believe it. I was with Tony in a meeting, Tony Robbins, just him and I, or he and I in his living room in Fiji, talking about a bunch of stuff. But he had pulled out this computer and he was bar graphs, circles, and how he was going to spend his time, and what his overall goal was. And just looking at it over and over again, just typing, just insane. This is what successful people do. They know exactly where they're going, and then they take action to get there, and they learn from mistakes, things happening. They do it again, and they do it again. And this is what you need to do. You are never going to succeed at the level you're capable of if all you're doing is say, I want this. You have to actually know what you want. And one more thing, when you know what you want, it has to be a must. Not a maybe. I must be a federal judge. I must be the U.S. attorney for the Southern District. You must. You have to know what you want, because all strategists are doing is just running over people that don't have strategy. That's all. They're just boom. People without a strategy don't get it. Very interesting. My daughter is applying to this, wants to go to this University of Chicago school. Apparently, if you apply early decision or whatever, say, I know exactly what I want. If you let me in, I'm not going anywhere else. That's all you need to understand. People that do that, I guess, very high acceptance rate comparatively to people that just apply and say, hey, apply to a bunch of other places, I'm not going here. So if you apply doing that, she said, I don't know if it's true, that you have a 1% acceptance rate. And if you apply saying this is what I want to know, exactly where I want to go, multiple times higher. So that's what happens when you know what you want. People reward people that know what they want. The world awards people that know what they want. So being tactical means you're just showing it for work. If you're also strategic, you're showing it for work, and then you're making decisions that are going to make you succeed. If the answer is to build more hours, then you'll always be chasing build more hours and mediocrity. If that's, what you're doing to be strategic, just building a lot of hours is not really the right thing to do. If you want to be successful, you need to be both strategic and tactical. You need to have a goal for what you want. And honestly, people that have a goal, like I've seen this before. Like I hired this guy that wanted to be famous, and he came to work with me and he interviewed me. I'm interviewing you because I want to learn what successful people do with that. I'm going to take that experience. I'm going to try to find a better job doing this. And that was pretty stupid because I was hiring. But people come to Hollywood and stuff and they know exactly what they want. And then they network and they try to meet the right people and they go to certain parties to find people. And this is what they do. They come here, and I've taken all this acting stuff and used to, doesn't matter, but I was involved in the industry because I thought it was fun. And what the people do, they're actors. They know this, I want to be a successful actor. And so they go to school for acting, and then when they come out of school, then they take jobs in places where they're going to meet people. So one woman I can think of went to acting school. Then when she came out, she got a job in a hair salon where all these celebrities came in. And then she would go out at night at places where she knew actors and producers and things would be. This is what people do. When they go, actually, if she succeeded, based on what she's doing, I hope she did. You just need to know what you're doing. You need to be captain of your own ship in order to succeed. And I can't emphasize this enough because so many people mess this up. Most attorneys mess this up. They don't have a strategy that they go practicing law. It sucks. Or I don't know what I want to do. Or I don't look for the place. And what you do, by the way, if you have a strategy, you can dump your firm. I know someone that had a strategy of trying to be a partner in the largest law firm possible, or the most successful attorney. And what did they do? They started off at a small firm because I don't know, something happened to them. Then they knew what they wanted. So they moved to a larger firm that would hire them. And eventually they got to, a huge firm. Along the way, they built up business. They specialized in a practice area. They made all the right decisions and got there. And this is actually one of the people that wrote me years later and said that they followed my advice and this is how they did it. And you can too. Honestly, I'm not like an expert. I didn't help that person. I never talked to them. But they followed this advice. I hope you follow it too. I just love this topic so much because there's a lot of topics that I cover that my career and stuff. This particular topic is something that could dramatically change your life if you really follow it. And almost everyone that I know has been very successful has followed this. It's the number one piece of advice that I think is all the things that I cover. It's the one topic that can really change your life in a major way. And so I commend you for taking the time to just watch this because most people don't look for things or want to learn things that are going to help them. And the number one thing that helps people is learning this kind of information. It makes a massive difference to people that become successful. And very few people allow themselves to open up and learn this kind of stuff because most people just think they know everything or they're scared to know about tactics. So let me just fix this here. But anyway, my point is that I do think that your ability to watch this sort of stuff and study it, just what you learned today, honestly, change the course of your life. And if you have these sort of goals. So let's take these questions. And again, any questions that you have, I'm happy to answer. I won't share your name. And I can obviously help you with more of the stuff you understand. So I often found myself wearing multiple hats and struggling to prioritize between strategic and long-term goals and immediate tactical tenets. How can I manage my time effectively to ensure that I'm focusing on both aspects? The first is you need to know where you're going. That's it, where you're going. So let me make a couple of recommendations of ways to do that I think are helpful. So I can put these in the chat. I will do that too. I really want to, I'll share some ideas about some of the ways to do that. So just give me one second here. And if you're watching this right now, studying this, that's something you want to know about. And so that's just awesome. So let me just pull some good stuff up here. I'm just sharing this with you because watching this is one thing that I use. So this is kind of a cool thing. Let's see, I have a best year journal. Yeah. So this is a 12-month productivity planner, which is cool. This will show you like how to know what you want. And there's a bunch of these sort of things out there. This is one that I do every year and just to make sure that I'm on track. There's other ones you can do. The Clever Fox actually is really good. The Clever Fox is this productivity planner I do every day. So this is a good one. And then I'll actually put this URL up. Like just having a strategic goal and knowing where you're going, like planning it and just thinking about this and what's important to you, or what do you want to do each month and where you're going. You have to have a strategic goal. Clever Fox. This is one that's pretty good. This is actually very good. This Clever Fox thing. This enables you to track everything you're doing every month. And I'll put this. Actually, no one's going to be able to understand this. You are. So I'm going to put this right here like this for everyone to look at. And then I'll do the same thing with the last. So I'm just showing you some things to do to know where you're going. Honestly, the most successful people do this. Mark Benioff that's on Salesforce. He went to just some random Tony Robbins concert and started planning these things and changed the course of his life just to know where he wanted to go. And he's obviously a multi-billionaire, and doing this stuff can make a huge difference. Now, these are not all the things I use. I do this every year though. And then there's also a daily planner that goes along with it. I'm just showing you this stuff because this will enable you to write down, to take the time, write down what you want to do. And then if you want to get really hardcore, then you can do, and this is just crazy. It's just so freaking in depth, but you can do the Tony Robbins RPM life, which is just ridiculous. So it goes into all of that and just incredible to what you want to plan. And RPM life planner is good, but then you also have the RPM system box, which is, this thing's just ridiculous. It's $100 or something. If you have the time for that, that's good too. But the point is, you have to have something. Like if you don't have something, you know nothing. You can't just expect to get any type of success in your life if you're not doing something. Now, this best year journal is not too bad. You can do it in a few days. It's Clever Fox things you can do in a few days. Because if you have goals each or going, you review it each week. Then what happens is you just keep remembering that. You have to really you have to do this. And I'm just telling you, if you want to be successful, which I know you do, because you went to law school, you're taking time watching this. Of course you want to be successful. So that's what you want. You need to take the right actions. And this is going to help. Okay. So this is another thing. So this person asked, which resources do you recommend for attorneys to refine and implement a strategic approach to their careers? Yeah. All this kind of stuff. So you can go into, I could buy things. You can have, these are good resources, by the way. Honestly, this other one I saw, I've never done was, what is this? He's just trying to sell there. But some of this stuff, like this life planner, it looks pretty cool. You can tell you exactly what you want in your life or whatever. And it's interesting. This is the kind of stuff that you need. You need to have resources like this, and you can do it all on your own. You don't need to do, but you can take literally daily actions to. This is the thing that I'm talking about. It's just ridiculous. You're planning your life and your career and your social life and everything. And this guy, by the way, he didn't go to college, might have graduated from high school. He just knows what he wants and he's just fired up. And that's what happens if you do that stuff. You go places, and people that do that. And I'm not saying they use Tony Robbins, but you need to have some sort of plan. I like this best year journal. I did that this year and I found it very useful. It helped me. I did my planning every year and I planned January and I went back and I accomplished everything. But I have an overall life goal. And so I know where I want to be. And so these are the kind of things. So you can look up, you don't have to buy any of these things, but you can look up different things to help you. And that's smart. As long as you use the resources, somebody asks, what resources do you recommend for attorneys? And these are the ones I recommend. But you have to have some goal. Let me see. I will attend law school in the fall. I'm a non-traditional student with a career. By the way, wow. So when this ready to attend law school watching this, amazing. That's just great. I will, because it means you're going to be able to, you're in good shape is what I'm saying. I mean, if you're watching these kind of webinars right now, it's amazing. Continue working while attending law school. The law school has various pathways to practice, and I'm interested in pursuing the law. It's an entrepreneur track. I'm interested in tax and estate law and personal injury law. How do I reconcile divergent practice into advice specialist? I mean, you don't have to specialize when you're in law school. I mean, your goal is really to learn about different practice areas. Some will appeal to you more than others. And I don't know what the law practice and entrepreneur track is. frankly, I work with law schools and this kind of stuff it's just like hype. A lot of times they put together these programs to get people to go there and tell them honestly, you just need to take classes. You want like trust in the states, then you can be a trusted states attorney. You just learn everything you can about it. Learn how to get business. Take classes about where you can get a job. Just to focus on places that you might like. Same thing with personal injury law, but you do have to specialize. If you don't specialize, it's going. And again, you do not have to specialize when you're in law school. You can get out of law school and maybe you should try to figure out what you want to do fairly quickly. My dad said one time, and I don't remember where he got this from. By the time you're like 30, you should know exactly what you want. That's exactly what happened to me. By the time I was 30, you know exactly what I wanted to do. And that's very important that you try to figure something out sooner rather than later. This person says, it's a question. This is a very common question, so I'm glad someone asked. They say, I've been focusing solely on job boards for my job search. Should I be exploring other avenues? And if so, what are some lesser options that could yield better results? Okay, so job boards, fine. I own a job board called Law Crossing, which I think has a lot of positions, depending on where you're at, and they're positions that typically come off law firm websites and things. You want to find Indeed but here's the truth. This is something I share with my candidates every day. And that's important for you to understand. So I'm going to walk into this and show you how it's done right now and what's important. So if you apply to jobs, and this is very important for everyone, this could change the course of your career, what I'm going to say right now. So if you apply to jobs, you are competing with everyone else applying to the same job. The same job. So what does that mean? That means that depending on the market you're in, you may be the best candidate for the job, or you may be the worst. That's one thing. If you apply to jobs, number one, I'm going to just write this down. You're competing with everyone else applying to the job. If you're the best out, then sure, you're going to get a job. But the other thing that's important to understand is when you apply to jobs, to job boards, and again, I own a job board, so I'm just telling you, if you own a job board with everyone else applying to the job, then also you are more likely to get the job if you're the first to apply. So what does that mean? So that means that what happens is candidates apply, law firms or whatever the employer are, puts a job up. In the first 48 hours, they might get 50 applicants. They're going to look at maybe the first 25. Maybe they'll look at a few more and they'll go through a paid if they're coming by email. Sometimes they're in the firm's account. But they get all these people, and then what happens most of the time is they ignore later applicants. Why? Because think about it. Why would you want to log into a job board or wherever and spend hours or spend a lot of time looking at candidates when you've already got some people you're going to interview? So more likely to apply in employers ignore people that come later. Especially how it works. So the problem is that if you're doing this, if you're just applying to jobs, you're either going to be the best applicant or the worst, or something in between. And employers know what to look for. They're going to prefer people that have worked in a lot of places. They're going to prefer people that are unemployed versus unemployed. They're going to prefer people coming from the best employers that they know. They're going to prefer people that they identify with based on hundreds of factors. It could be where you live. It could be your religion. It could be your interest in sports. You don't know. So you apply to jobs, it's very difficult. So I'm not saying you can't get jobs if you apply to jobs. A lot of people, different employers have choices. So what do you do? What is the solution if you're applying if you feel like if it's competitive to get a job? This actually is a simple answer, and I'm going to tell you that. I want to try to show you something in our database, which I'm going to be careful here because I don't want to show anyone else's name. That's one of our candidates, but there's the candidate search. I'm just looking for the categories here. I have a demo account here. Okay, so let me put this up. So these are not real people right here. So these are not real people. These are just made up candidates. So this is an example of a candidate looking for a job. So what happens when most people are looking for jobs? They look only at jobs. And when you look only at jobs, what happens is you put yourself in a position where you compete with everyone else. So this is an example of a candidate looking for a position with a looking for labor employers. It's actually a pretty good position. They're competing with a lot of people. So I just want to show you competition for these jobs. So here we submitted 94 people recently and 2 got interviews. So here we sent 44 people to the firm. None of them got interviews. Here we sent 82 people to the firm. Now this, by the way, it's over a short period of time. It's 22 people, 0, 129, 4. So the reason I'm showing you this is to show you how much freaking competition there is for each job. It's insane. So we have to get people to the firm first. Here's 49 in 2 interviews and 1 placement. So when you apply to jobs, there's a lot of competition. We're very good at what we do, but the best in the world, in my opinion, actually are. I have to say with 100% confidence, I believe we are. There's things we can do better a lot, but we're very good. So what all this means is that there's a lot of competition for jobs. So how do you fix that? So the only way to fix that is to make sure that you're applying to firms without openings. So what do I do? What would I do for this candidate that would end up getting them a position? So I would go and I would look at jobs that most firms had in the past that no longer are open. So look at all these firms, tons of them. So I would look at these firms and I would probably encourage the person to go there. I don't know what happened. It must have closed. So try to encourage the person to go there. And this is all our technology, by the way. This is not some random database. Yeah, but I would look at old jobs, which I showed you, which are called archive jobs, firms that had openings in the past. And you can actually search archive jobs on Law Crossing. So you can go in there, look at every old job that we've ever had. And that's a smart thing to apply to. Then I would look at jobs. We have ways of figuring out firms that a person should apply to based on using AI and that kind of thing. So I wouldn't show you that. But I'd also look at firms that might be highly ranked. They can't do this. 900 firms in this candidate's practice area. Let's see, we'll drill down a little bit more. They're doing these different types of, so this is normal, and they're looking just in California, but there's 1,000 places that this person can apply to. 1,000 places that don't have jobs, right? If the person does not have to compete. So if you apply to a job where there's no one else competing with you, that's insane. Like you're the only applicant. And all of these firms do this practice area. So the person that applies to them could very well get a job there. So this is what you do. You don't just randomly, like a lemming, apply to the same jobs everyone else is doing. And this is how candidates get jobs. I do interview prep for BCG candidates every single day. I do it from 6 or 7 in the morning till 6 at night. And this is what I do. I go and look at firms that don't have openings. I look at, and this is where, when I do interview prep, this is where almost all the candidates end up getting interviews. They get interviews at places that don't have jobs. So what do? You want to work in Laguna Beach? You go like labor employment, employment. And again, a lot of this technology you have it's ours, but they've got employment attorneys, right? Firms. And these are going to be plain different defense. Laguna Beach, probably. Laguna Beach is, who knows? But yeah, here we go. Laguna Beach maybe serves all this stuff. Laguna Beach. Actually, I know who these people are. But yeah, so the point is that all of these places you can contact, and regardless of where you want to work, and look at all this, it's crazy. There's so many places you can apply to without openings. Why wouldn't you do that? I just showed you 1,000 in our database, and this is how most people get interviews. They don't get interviews by applying to the same places that everyone else is. And so I'm really trying to help you get a job here. And these jobs are often better because like you apply someplace, they don't have an opening, but they need you. And they're like, hell. And why does that work? And I'm just going to be very clear. This is one of the most important things you could learn when you apply to jobs without openings. Apply to firms with no openings that have your practice here. So you focus it in with no openings. You are the only up and there's no competition. Not only that, but no one does this. They do with like firms, but no competition. So when you do that, that's what happens. You apply to firms with no openings, they're only applicant, there's no competition. And the law firm is flattered that you did it, flattered that you applied, especially smaller ones. They think they're special. So this works. This is how people get jobs. So I get people jobs. I research things. I know I send them to real jobs, but then I also send them to old jobs. They're no longer interesting. I'm interested in them. All these different things is how it works. Anybody, I'm helping or that you want to help, if you want something, you can get it. And so this person asked, this is a good question. I hope this could help a lot of people too. Are there any potential, Mike, I just want to be clear about the next point, the last point. You don't have to apply to job openings on job boards. You're going to get more success if you apply to places that don't have openings. That's what works, always worked. That'll work for you. Okay. And if you just apply to job boards, you've been doing that for weeks. It's crazy. This is what people do. Why wouldn't you research all the firms, do the kind of work you are, try to approach them or go to events where they might, this is what the best people do. Okay, are there any practice areas or specializations that can yield stronger career outcomes for attorneys? Yes, there are. It depends on what you want. So if you want to be a solo practitioner and you don't want to go to work in a big firm, and things like you can have great careers, you can in the States, immigration, and you can learn these things on your own. States, immigration, what else? Immigration, personal injury, all these sorts of things. If you want to do it, you will do well. If you know so many people that do these practice areas, they didn't go to great law schools, but they're very successful. So these are good practice areas that people can do well. And there's certainly others. Let me see if I can actually go through some of these practice areas. This is a good question. I want to make sure that I give you answer this question as well as I possibly can. Edit final practice areas. So here, these are some of the practice areas that you can do. There's some of the practice areas that are very hot and always are hot. Construction's always hot. Bankruptcy, you can do consumer bankruptcy, but corporate is difficult. But if you're a general corporate attorney in a smaller market, that's a very good job. There's always going to be work depending on the size market. And then in large markets, you can certainly choose between some of these. In terms of corporate, passive investment management is pretty good. There's always a lot of opportunities. Compliance, okay. Contract law, okay. Some of these are the benefit of corporate general is you can go in-house. There's always demand for in-house attorneys that do that. And then things like M&A are okay. And they're mainly for larger firms. Private equity is a good practice area. Securities and capital markets is much more dependent on the economy. Technology transactions is a difficult one because it just seems to go in and out of stuff. Everyone's interested in data privacy. People do well there, but I don't think that's a good long-term risk. Education's a good one, very good. Oil and gas is okay. Entertainment is risky. Environmental is risky. And ERISA is a very good practice area to go into. Senior ERISA attorneys almost always good jobs. Family law is a great practice area. You make a lot of money if you do that as an attorney, and it's something you can do with no experience right out of law school. So I like that practice area. Food and drug law is very good. Finance is pretty good, and guardianship is really related to more related to family law. Healthcare is awesome. There's a lot of opportunity there right now. Immigration, I talked about. Insurance coverage is good. Insurance defense is good. All these insurance related things are good practice areas. You can work your entire career, even without business doing that. IP is good. It's okay. It could be this employment law. Employment law is let me just do IP first. So you have IP general, then you have IP litigation, and people that with hard sciences like physics and stuff, and then you have life sciences, and then you have IP litigation. So a lot of people say they want to go into IP. Really, honestly, unless you have, there's patent prosecution, there's litigation, but unless you have a very strong science background, so if you want to do IP life sciences, you probably need a PhD in something related to life sciences. Hard sciences is like computer science, electrical engineering. Very difficult to be a patent prosecutor without that. Very difficult to be a IP litigator without that. So you need to think about when you're looking at these practice areas, it's important to understand what is your long-term goal. IP is a big practice area, but I would just say, unless you have a very strong science background or math or whatever, it's a very difficult thing to get into. I do want to talk just real briefly about trademark. Trademark litigation is a fairly good practice area, but the problem with trademark related work is that it's actually not that difficult. It's prosecuting a trademark means putting the trademark together and filing a trademark office. Doing that sort of work is not that difficult to do. And so what happens is a lot of firms bring in staff attorneys or they have paralegals do a lot of the work. And so it's not always a good long-term career choice. Now, trademark litigation, on the other hand, could be very good. But trademark transactional work tends to fluctuate with the economy. These are very good questions, by the way. And I'm trying to give you enough detail to make sense of it. employment law, litigation, employer defense. If you do that, you're pretty much employable for your entire career if you want to do it. Same thing with plaintiffs' class actions, management compliance, unions. Okay, that's okay. And these other employment laws are very good practice area to go into, whether you want to do as a plaintiff or as a people that do well. All these different types of litigation, things like antitrust, difficult, electric power, difficult, but some of this kind of regular employment law is good for litigation. A lot of these energy, gas, and environmental, a lot of this stuff fluctuates over the economy, and that can be a little bit difficult. And then you have all these kind of different things, banking and finance, commercial litigation. If you're a good litigation attorney, you can do commercials, biggest one that people go into because that's fighting for companies. And so when you do that, there's a lot of fees that roll in. Construction has always been an incredible practice area. There's a lot of opportunity, a lot of demand for construction attorneys. Criminal laws, okay, if you want to do that. E-discovery, in criminal law you can do, but it depends on, there's always going to be demand for it, obviously, but it's not always the best practice area. This kind of e-discovery document review is not a good long-term practice area. All these other ones, medical malpractice is very good. That's a very smart practice area to get into. There's a lot of demand. Personal injury, there's a lot of demand. Defense, personal injuries, there's a lot of demand. And then a lot of these other types of litigation, the demand kind of fluctuates and there's not as much. Workers' compensation is very good. And then municipal law is very good. Real estate is usually pretty good. All these different types of real estate people are always in demand, so that's a good one. And then tax is okay. It's difficult to get tax work in law firms because you're often dependent on other parts of the firm, like consulting services, M&A. Trust in estates is a very good practice area, especially you can do on your own. And same thing with workers' comp, and that's a pretty good practice area. It's always busy. I just wanted to give everyone a little bit of insight to the different practice areas. The only other thing I wanted to say about practice areas is you have, again, this is important to learn. I'm not trying to bore anybody here, but consumer facing, meaning you're working for consumers, and which means there's always work all over. That would be your criminal law. And I'm not trying to bore anybody here. I hope if there's interesting, I do. Criminal law, family law, things like that. So these practice areas there's always work, and you can do that on your own. And if you want to have a long-term career without having to worry about a lot of things, and there's company business facing, which is most often things like corporate real estate. The thing to understand when practice area that you're in is there's more of these. I'm just doing like commercial litigation. So when you work for companies, there's potential to make much more money. And that's the advantage. Businesses have lots of money flowing out of them. And they get sued. They spend a lot of money and just write checks. Trust in the states clients don't, either immigration or personal injury and all these others. But personal injury, you obviously can make an incredible amount of money. And I've met people that are just making silly money doing personal injury. Be a very good practice area to get. Okay, so I hope going through those practice areas didn't bore the hell out of you. But the point is that you have to choose typically what you want. These practice areas are riskier. And actually, this is actually a very important point. The point I want to make is between consumer facing and company facing. So these are riskier. You're dependent on large companies for work and people that bring more work and people that get them to work. So that's the first large companies. And for consumer facing types of firms, you can always find consumers. They don't have as much money. So you can make more money doing company facing work, sometimes consumer facing. But if you go into a practice area where you're doing consumer facing work, it may be you can potentially make as much money. People that do company facing work, it's like working for big law firms. Okay, I've been focusing on the specific tactics like tweaking my resume cover letter, but I'm not seeing much progress. How do I integrate Photoshop into my job search? So you get junk off your resume. I don't know. Resume that has nothing to do. I'm going to do probably a resume review in the next couple of weeks. We'll look at resumes, but resumes, tweaking your cover letter and resume really isn't the solution. You have to apply to more people. It's all business. Who would you hire if if your law firm, if your resume is making a political statement or there's a lot of stuff on there that has nothing to do with anything, you just need to you need to get your resume to the right people and do a very as broad of a search as you need to. But in most cases, tweaking your resume and your cover letter is not going to make much of a difference. Most people do not read a cover letter. So it's up to you if you want to do that, but you be careful. Okay. So a lot of questions today. Let's see. And I appreciate everyone else. Okay. So every law firm emphasizes billable hours. It says, how can you determine if my current firm or workplace culture is conducive to fostering strategic thinking and long-term career growth rather than just emphasizing billable hours? Okay. So every law firm out there is going to emphasize billable hours because that may make money. So you have a choice to just work in the law firm and bill hours, or alternatively, you can go and instead of working in the law firm, bill hour, you can go and try to find clients. And so you have to do that while you're working. You have to dedicate time after you're working. That's what every attorney with business does. So you cannot just try to bill hours. The law firm doesn't care. The law firm doesn't care if you develop business. They can always hire someone in business. They just don't care. So if that's what you're emphasizing and trying to do, you're not going to get anywhere. So you need to do all this on your own. You need to be able to find clients and do whatever you can with a strategy. So your strategy may be billing the hours, and that may be how you get ahead. I don't know. You have to have a strategy, and you have to understand whether the firm you're in is a place that actually going to allow you to fulfill that strategy. Could you find examples of what loose tactics might look like in the context of a legal job search? So I'm just trying to think of the answer to this question and what you're actually like loose tactics in the context of a job search. So loose tactics would be something for searching for a job, just applying to jobs on the job boards. Instead of following my advice and applying to firms that don't have openings but are good in your practice here, that would be a loose tactic. Another loose tactic might be if you're looking for a job to not know exactly what you want. And so when you show up at a firm, maybe interviewing for a firm, you don't know what they do or what their practice area is, that would be a loose tactic. People that don't have maybe not, that's tactics would be things like how you apply, when you apply, places like how you position your resume, how you find places to work, how you go to networking events, how you find people all these things, like you have to know exactly what you want to do. And so unless you're applying to jobs, like an example would be someone that loses their job as a corporate attorney in New York. So if their strategy is to be a partner in a major law firm, and all they do is apply to firms in New York City or even whatever part of town they're in, maybe they just want to work downtown, that would be a loose tactic to get into your strategy. A good tactic would be applying to firms, not just there, but in other parts of the country that might be interested in them, of making the resume look more focused to the types of jobs they're applying to, of writing, if they do write a cover letter, of making it direct attorney, of applying only to HR people when they could be sending their resume to people that are in the practice group of the firm, not dressing well for the interview in the firm. All these sorts of things would be considered loose tactics, and tactical people make the right decisions to get what they want. Sorry in a second. It has not always been that way that law firms respect women who took maternity leave. I took 6 weeks leave since 1978, all accrued and unused vacation sick time that I had sick, and most of the partners still not respect me after working hard for the previous 6 years. Yeah, I believe that. And wow. There were, just for everyone's freshman, there were not a lot of women that went to law school in the early 1970s. I appreciate the person bringing that point up. Yeah, I think things were a lot different then. When I was hearing the other day, I read something that, before 1969, and even pools were not integrated in different parts of the country. Anyway, it's crazy. I've heard about the importance of informational interviews, but I'm not sure how to put professionals them without feeling like imposing any steps. But yeah, so lawyers are by nature very busy. Their hours are billed. They bill hours. That's very difficult for them. It's a lot of work billing hours. And that because of all the work doing billable hours, they don't want to spend a lot of time. How do you do informational interviews? You can ask for informational interviews. You can go in and say, I want to talk to you about what it's like working there. But everyone knows that when you're trying to go in and get an informational interview, that you're basically just trying to a job. So you can do those and they can work. But my advice to you would just be to try to do them if you can, and they can work. Sometimes the way to do an informational interview might be something along the lines of, say you went to a certain law school and you're moving into a new market that you don't know anything about. It could be like, say you went to law school at University of Arizona and you're trying to get a job in Sacramento, and which is a city in California, and you decide you want to contact, there's a attorney from your law school that works in a firm in Sacramento. So you go into them and you say, hey, I wanted to learn a little bit about the market. I'm moving here. I don't have any connections. Could I take 20 minutes of your time? And if you do something like that, that generally works. You can come in, then that person will tell you about opportunities, or people that they know in the market, where you could look, what the market's a few things, maybe contact you about a job, or just give you some good leads, some knowledge. That's how I would do that if you're interested in that. Okay, this person asked this question, so I'm going to answer it. I have sent a couple of applications for legal jobs online, but I'm not sure if my applications are getting noticed. Are there more effective ways to apply for legal positions? Yes, you can sometimes hand deliver your resume. You can apply to positions that are necessary to firms that don't have openings, like I talked about earlier. So those are some of the methods that I would recommend this year. Here's this question. You mentioned suggesting a clerkship to the attorney you were coaching earlier. Do you think they're useful for a second, third year transactional attorney? Do you think clerks should be an opportunity to extend career? My goal. No, I don't know that doing a clerkship for the attorney at that level is the best idea. Isn't if you're a transactional attorney. The reason this is a transactional isn't, unless you want to go into litigation, transactional work isn't litigation. So litigation is, what a clerkship is. So you could do as a second or third year attorney. They do it all the time. You can go work for a judge and then you learn behind the scenes how things work. You write opinions for them. But if you get more senior, it's not necessarily the best idea. If you're in transactional work, it's not the best idea. Military attorneys, yes, I find it's very difficult for military attorneys. This good question. Have you seen military attorneys having great difficulty transitioning to big law or corporate legal careers? So if you're a military attorney, most military attorneys are what's called the JAG, where they prosecute or defend soldiers and so forth that are accused of crimes. And so it's like being a prosecutor. For some reason, I don't know why, but military resumes are weird. Like they go on, and they're very difficult for people to understand that aren't military attorneys. Military attorneys can go into criminal law. They can also go into litigation, but it's just much different being a military attorney than it is working in traditional litigation, because just a bunch of different reasons. So military attorneys do get interviews. I don't know about transitioning to corporate, because the idea is if you're a military attorney, corporate is not litigation. So I think we've learned this a couple of times. So corporate is corporate. So corporate is transaction. So meaning completely different. So if you're doing a transactional type, that's going to be different. So if you're doing transactional, completely different. If you're doing litigation, then it's reading, writing, arguing, et cetera. No. So if you're a military attorney, it's very difficult to go into corporate. Can you transition to big law? Of course you can. So a lot of times military attorneys go to good schools, they get their grades and want to have a big law. And yes, you can certainly apply to those jobs. And there's always in a lot of law firms, people that have been in the military and respected, and then you can get in there. And I've seen lots of military attorneys wind up in the big law. So definitely can. But it's harder than it would be if you did something right away, because it's just, you're not necessarily getting the training that you begin in a law firm. If your goals as part of practice area is emerging AI governance, how do you find firms working in these emerging practice areas? Okay, so this is a good question as well. People want to do these new practice areas. My advice to you, I have a couple pieces of advice. If you want to do one of these new practice areas, in my career, I've seen all of these things like emerge. Like early on when I was in a career, there was like information technology or some technology, transactions, but just all of these practice areas that emerge. And so what happens when they do is someone comes out with a course, they make people take courses, other people, they get involved, law students try to do it, LLM programs come out with the idea about it so they can make money. this is what happens. Is that a good idea to do it? Maybe, but you're typically going to be better off if you're I remember when I was practicing law, there was this whole thing that like all these computers malfunction, the world was going to end in 2000. So all these law firms needed to prepare and get ready. And so so you need to be careful sometimes about these emerging practice areas. Data privacy is the one. So data privacy, everyone thought that was going to be a good thing. So everyone got into their SIPs or stuff like that. So just going into one of these practice areas is not a guarantee that you will get a job. In most cases, the law firms that do this will have the artistic people do it. You still have to have the qualifications to work there. And sometimes in these practice areas, a lot of people there want to do it. So it's very difficult. Okay. Thank you everyone for reading this webinar. This one was pretty short, so I'm glad. I'm glad that we can't go too much time, but great topic. Just my advice to you is always to have a strategy and know what you're doing. And if you do that, strategy or tactics, you're going to be pretty well served. So thank you for reading this webinar. Very smart, by the way. Anyway, everyone that's done this, because you're definitely learning a lot. And this particular webinar could understand it, could change the course of your life and your career. And I hope it does. Thank you.